Hey, what did you mob guys love to eat? You know, was it always Italian food? You know, where did you eat? What were the restaurants? What were the recipes? Everybody is interested in food. It's amazing. That's why all these celebrity chefs are doing so well. That's why restaurants have really upped their game all over the country. You know, people used to say to me, oh, Michael, you can only get good food in New York. Not true anymore. You can get good food all over the country. Restaurants have upped their game, and I believe it's because of these celebrity chefs and because there's so much competition now. Restaurants just have to be good, or people don't go there anymore. So, you know, I thought it might be fun, might be interesting for you to know some of your favorite mob guys, or some of the more prominent ones, what they really enjoyed eating. So I'm going to go through 10 of them. And you'd be surprised. Not everybody was, you know, into pasta all the time. I'm sure they loved it, but it may not have been their favorite meal. So let's start with the most obvious, Mr. Capone, Al Capone. His favorite dish was spaghetti with walnut sauce. Now, I never heard of that. It's an oil and breadcrumb base with toasted nuts and a smattering of cheese. You know what? Sounds okay. Me, I eat almost everything except for oysters. I don't like oysters. Had a bad experience at one time. I've never eaten an oyster. I'm not going to get into why, but I don't eat oysters. But just about everything else I'll go for. So he loved that. Spaghetti with walnut sauce that's made with an oil and breadcrumb base and toasted nuts and a smattering of cheese. Okay, Al. And then he loved stuffed Wisconsin pork roast. He started eating it when he was hiding out in the Northwoods. And the ingredients of that is prosciutto, provolone, olives, mushrooms, and some Parmesan cheese. That sounds pretty good. I love pork. You know, stuffed pork is great. So that was Al's two favorite dishes. And then his favorite beer, I don't think they make it anymore, was Templeton Rye. I'm not into beer. Some of you may say, no, Michael, they do make it. But his was Templeton Rye. And just for a throw-in, his favorite bar, the Green Mill Cocktail Lounge. I think it's still there, different name, of course, but it's still there in the Chicago area. So that's Capone. Second, another big guy, Lucky Luciano. Who were his two closest friends? Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel. So what do you think his favorite food was? You'll never guess this. Two Jewish friends, what do you think his favorite food was? Let me tell you. It was kosher green pickles. You believe that? He loved it, and I think he was known for that. And when Lansky and the U.S. Naval Intelligence, when they went to visit him, you know, to talk to him about the war effort, remember he helped? You know, he helped secure the docks in New York City area, and then obviously he helped the Allied invasion in Sicily. When they came to talk to him about it, and they did, and he did help, yes he did, they brought him a whole bunch of food, that's what he wanted, and he had kosher green pickles with him, so. Who would have thought? You would have thought it would have been pasta or something like that, but it wasn't. Number three, Meyer Lansky, Jewish guy. He hung out with Luciano and Siegel's at a place called Ratner's. It was a very, very famous deli. It was a dairy restaurant, actually, on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It was famous. It was there for many, many years. And he would order cheese blitzes. That was his favorite. You know, I love cheese blitzes also. And that's a Jewish kind of delicacy, or, you know, they eat it all the time. It's great. For those of you that don't know blintzes, it's a sweet cheese mixture wrapped in a thin, delicate pancake, and most of the time it's served with fruit. Oh, it sounds good. I know Jewish, it's kind of a staple with Jews, and I love it too, but that was Meyer Lansky. Carlos Marcello. Now we know who he was. He was the boss of New Orleans. And by the way, Carlos confessed to being part of the JFK assassination. I don't know if you know that. And some people, for some reason, they don't want to believe that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the CIA, the U.S. government, never would want to admit that the mafia was able to get to a sitting president. But there's classified documents about the JFK hitting that have never been revealed. They're always supposed to be, every 25 years, they're supposed to, you know, make them public, but for some reason they never do. I believe that's the reason, because I've said it in the past. Everything that I've heard during my time in that life from the right people was that it was definitely a mob hit with JFK. Not proud of that, I'm just telling you. And Carlos Marcello actually confessed to it. So, what did he love? He loved oysters, not me, shrimp, fettuccine, but his favorite was spaghetti and meatballs. You know, it's funny, I never would order spaghetti and meatballs whenever I was in a restaurant. For some reason, I couldn't eat meatballs because my grandmother's recipe was so darn good, couldn't find anything to match it anywhere else. But now I have found that so many restaurants make meatballs great. You know, and the key is not to put breadcrumbs in it. You have to have bread. You got to soak the bread. I'm not going to give you our whole recipe, not now anyhow, maybe at another time. But restaurants are really catching up and making good meatballs. I'm finding that lately, so I'm ordering that at times. And this is interesting. His personal chef was somebody by the name of Provino Mosca, and he was Capone's personal chef. And Marcello hired him the day Capone was sentenced to prison for tax evasion. Stole the chef. Not really. He wasn't going to be able to take care of Al while he was in prison. But very interesting. That's Carlos Marcello. Next, John Gotti. Now, what do you think John Gotti's favorite dish was? Come on. I mean, I know he used to love to go to Rayo's restaurant, famous steakhouse in New York. Now they're in different places throughout the country. But you know what his favorite place was? You know what he loved, I should say? Maybe it wasn't his favorite. But you know where he loved to go? Cracker Barrel. How many of you love Cracker Barrel? I love Cracker Barrel, but really only for the breakfast. I don't go there for lunch or dinner. Their breakfasts are great, but John loved it. And his favorite food was chicken, biscuits, and chicken fried steak. John Gotti, would you expect that? And he would say, how much Italian food can you eat? So that's interesting. I didn't know that, honestly, but I knew John loved Rayo's, and obviously he liked Italian food. I mean, every Italian likes Italian food, you know, but Cracker Barrel, great. Next, Mickey Cohen. We know who he was, you know, gangster out here in California, Jewish guy also. And he used to go to Cole's restaurant in LA. I don't think it's there anymore. And he loved Cole's French dip sandwich. Now, I love French dip also. We have a couple of restaurants out here in California that make it just terrific. And but that was Mickey's favorite dish, French dip sandwich. Next, we go to Henry Hill. Now, why do I put Henry in here? Okay, everybody loves Henry, Goodfellas, the whole bit. He's very well known. His favorite dish was chicken stock, actually chicken soup. And you know what? I love chicken soup too. Not my favorite. Who doesn't love chicken soup? Especially when you're sick. You know, they tell you these things to eat, you know, when you're not feeling good, when you have a cold, and chicken soup is always one of them. And you know what? It really works. It really does. But that was Henry's favorite dish, chicken stock, chicken soup. Next, Raymond Patriarca. We know who he was. He was the boss of New England. He would eat on Federal Hill in Providence, big Italian section there. Been there many, many times. And the restaurant they ate at was called Adesso, and the food was cresta di gallo pasta. And it was the sauce made with veal stock, and it includes grilled chicken, sausage, tomatoes, both fresh and sun-dried. Sounds like a great dish. But, you know, it's amazing how some of these more prominent guys in my former life, how people even knew what they loved to eat. You know, it's something. Not everybody. So I think if people know what you like to eat, you've kind of made it in that life. You know, at least it sounds good, right? And then let me get to my father, Sonny Franzese. Now, my dad was a good eater. Let me tell you something. When me, my dad, and my brother were at the table, we killed everything. We were big, big eaters. My dad was a big eater. And he loved filete di pomodoro sauce. And he loved it with prosciutto. And they just started making that. You know, it wasn't around for a long time. I remember they just started making that like in the 70s, I think. And it became a staple in our house. And now my wife makes that like you can't believe. I love it. So I don't know whether it, you know, just started way back when, but my wife she's mastered that. And I'm going to give you a little trick for all of you out there. The tomatoes that you have to use are muti. You must use muti. They're the best tomatoes out there. Trust me, they're sweet. They're just delicious. They make the sauce. But a filete di pomodoro sauce with prosciutto, without prosciutto, delicious. That was my dad's favorite, and I love it too. And you know, get to me. I love that sauce, but you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I love Italian food. You put pasta on the table, I'm good. I love meatballs when they're done right. I love everything Italian. There's hardly anything that I won't eat. It's my favorite food without a doubt. But I also love Chinese food. I love it. You know, when we were kids, we went to restaurants. It was either Italian or Chinese. You know, my dad used to say, come on, let's go for Chinese food. I don't want to say the word he used because you think he was racist, and he wasn't. But he said, hey, let's go for Chinese food. So we used to have Italian. We used to eat Chinese. We ate home most of the time. But when we went out, it was either Italian or Chinese. And we had some great restaurants in Brooklyn, Bamonte's and Crisci's and so many others that we really enjoyed. Home-style cooking I love. I never ate Mexican food when I lived in New York. Never. We didn't have any Mexican restaurants. We didn't have any Mexicans. The first Mexican I met, I married, you know, my wife. And she introduced me really to Mexican food. And truthfully, I love it. I love carnitas. I love the pork the way it's made. I love pozole. It's like a stew. It's so delicious. I love menudo. You know, it's tripe. And we used to eat tripe at home. My grandfather used to make it in a red sauce. We call it tripa. But out here it's called menudo. Usually you can only get it on a Saturday or Sunday on a weekend in a Mexican restaurant. But I love it. And I love quesadillas. Just love it. Just cheese. I don't want anything else in it, but I love quesadillas. So I love Mexican food. So for me, and yes, of course, you know, we all love sushi. It's great. It's not my number one, but I eat it. My kids love it. My daughter Amanda loves Asian food of any kind, you know. But that's it. So me, I'm everybody's favorite dinner guest because I eat everything and I eat a lot and, you know, I just love food. And of course, a bottle of wine, and now it's my own wine, Franzese wine, that we enjoy too. So that's it. I thought you'd enjoy this. You know, some of your favorite mobsters or some of the more prominent ones, you know, that what their favorite foods are. Hope you enjoyed it. And my friends, before I go, I want to remind you, Franzese Wine, I now have a wine branded in my name from the world's oldest vineyards. We have alcoholic wine, of course, non-alcoholic wine, huge seller now. And the taste is terrific, my friends, really. You're going to enjoy this family atmosphere, wherever you want. It's wonderful wine. You're going to enjoy the taste. You're going to love it. I guarantee it. So go to franzesewine.com before we sell out because it's moving fast. That's an offer, once again, you can't refuse with a taste you're going to love.